Hi, my name is Paddy Hirsch. I'm a senior editor at Marketplace. Today I want to talk about high-frequency trading. I've been hearing a lot about high-frequency trading recently because a lot of the investment banks and other brokerages have made a great deal of money from trading in the markets, and one of the reasons is because they are, in fact, high-frequency traders. Secondly, because there's a lot of furore about an element of high-frequency trading, or certainly something that high-frequency traders use, which is called flash orders. So what exactly is high-frequency trading, or HFT as it's often called? Well, essentially it's really, really fast trading. These investment banks have gone out and they've spent a lot of money on very, very fast computers, very, very fast computer programs, and of course, very, very intelligent people who are expensive who actually create these programs. And it's given them a considerable advantage in the market because it's allowed them to trade extremely quickly. How quickly? That quickly. So what do we have? Well, if we think about high-frequency traders as the big guns in the market, here's our big gun. And we've got a vast array of pieces of ammunition that you can jet into the market if you're a high-frequency trader in order to dominate trading. So what are they? Well, first I talked a lot about speed, the speed of these computers and the programs that they have in them, and also the speed of the brains of the people that they've hired to create these things and run these programs. So another thing that they use is co-location. What they do is they put their servers as close to the servers of the exchange that they're involved in order to make the transactions move really, really quickly, so that there's very little distance for the messages to travel, and that obviously speeds things up quite a lot as well. I talked about these computer programs, algorithms, program trades, automatic market makers. Well, I'll explain all these in a second, and then of course the lethal flash orders that people are complaining so much about right now, and which the SEC is talking about banning. So in order to tie all this together, let's think about a little example. And here's our player. He's an institutional investor, okay? And he wants to buy, say, 1,000 shares of GE, all right? So he wants to buy GE, he wants to buy 1,000 shares. Now, right now, he's looking at the market, and the shares are trading at about $24.50 each. Okay, so there's the market right now, $24.50. He doesn't want to pay any more than $25, okay? So he's got this 50-cent range. He wants 1,000 shares. He can go into the market and he can say, hey, I want to buy 1,000 shares of GE with the highest price of $25. He can say that, but it means he is immediately showing his hand, and it means that he's vulnerable to manipulation by other investors and other traders, and particularly the high-frequency traders. Okay, so maybe not such an idea to show your hand like that. So what he does is he creates an algorithm, computer program. What it does is it takes his block of 1,000 and it breaks it up into little bits. Now these algos usually break them into 100 or 500 share blocks. So this particular algorithm is going to break his 1,000 trades or 1,000 shares into bids of 10 blocks of 100 with a maximum of 25. Okay, so the algorithm won't go any higher than $25, and it's going to trade in 100 share blocks. Okay, so he goes into the market and he says, here's his bid. 100 shares at $24.50, 100 shares at $24.50, he gets hit. 100 shares at $24.50, 100 shares at $24.60, he gets hit. Okay, so he's now bought 2 blocks. So how does the high-frequency trader get involved with this? Well, high-frequency traders also got his algorithms out there, okay, and he's detecting what's going on in the market. He's got these little detectors out, and he sees this first trade, or his computer program rather, sees this first trade of 100 shares at $24.50, then a second trade at $24.50 or $24.60, and it realizes that there is an investor out there that's buying in bulk. Okay, doesn't know who the investor is, doesn't know what his price is, that his high point is, and doesn't know how many shares the investor wants. But he has a feeling that this investor is on the hook. So what does he do? Well, he swings his automatic market maker into action. And the AMM, as it's called, starts to ping. Okay, it starts to send out offers, because this guy's a buyer, so he's sending out offers. It sends out an order, and the order is 100 shares at $27. Nothing comes back, because this thing can only go to 25. So he immediately cancels the order. 100 shares at $26. Nothing comes back, immediately cancel the order. We're talking split-second timing here. The order goes out and immediately is cancelled if nothing comes back. And these pings keep going out until he hits the $25 mark. 100 shares at $25, the offer is lifted, and the AMM immediately goes out and buys as many shares, GE shares as it can, okay, at whatever price, and then comes back and sells them at $25 to the institutional investor. And the reason that he's forced to sell at $25 is because there's no other shares left in the market at this point, because the AMM has dragged all the available shares to him or to it, and therefore is able to manipulate the price, or at least force the price upwards to the algorithm's upper limit. So that's how these automatic market makers work. these program trades, okay, these kind of jump onto trades and essentially they juice the market. So it forces the trade up, and then it means that investors kind of pile, or the buyers, if there are, say, several institutional investors out there buying General Electric, it means they kind of jump up on top of each other, and it forces the large whipsaws in the market. These are another type of computer program like this is called the predatory algorithm. So these are various types of computer program that these guys have put together to take advantage of movements in the market, and also to juice the market and take advantage of what's going on here. Okay, and then we have this other example, or this other weapon that the investor can, or the high-frequency trader can bring to bear, which is the flash order. Now, recently we've heard that the SEC is going to ban flash orders. We also heard that two of the exchanges that use these, BATS and NASDAQ, say that they're actually going to ditch flash orders. Okay, now not every exchange, and there are obviously several exchanges, or a number of exchanges in the US equity markets. Not every exchange uses flash. The New York Stock Exchange, for example, does not. Okay, so how does flash actually work? Well, here's our exchange. Now, whenever an order comes into an exchange, the exchange is required to send that order out to the wider market. Okay, now it can either pass it directly through, and so that the person who has made the order gets the best price. Okay, so here are our exchanges. Okay, or it can do what a number of these exchanges do, which means it can flash the order to its members. Okay, so here in this exchange, we've got a bunch of guys, or a bunch of investors, male and female, of course, and in comes the institutional investor's order, which is, say, 100 shares at $25. That's what he wants to buy. Now, if the exchange uses flash, just for a fraction of a second, like half a second, 500 milliseconds or less, it flashes that trade or that order to all of the people in the exchange. And they have the option, they have a half-second option, okay, a split-second option to exercise, okay, to fill that trade. They can sell this guy 100 shares at $25. And if they can't, the share, if they decide not to, then after half a second, it goes wide to the rest of the market, and then he's going to get the best price. He's either going to get matched, or he's going to get offered something close to what he's looking for. Okay, so clearly there's an advantage to the people who are in this exchange. They're getting to see this guy's price before anybody else does. Now, a lot of people might say, well, that's unfair on the investor, because if there was a better price out in the wider market, he's not going to get that because these guys are going to fill this. Okay. Other people would say, well, it's unfair for the people in the market, because then they can't execute on this trade. They're getting preferential treatment, if you like, in this transaction. And that's why a number of people have gotten so up in arms about flash trading and have decided to make a move to banning it. But it looks like the exchanges are actually going to get in front of this move and actually get rid of it themselves. Just to give you a bit of background, a good way of thinking about this is in the old days when you had an exchange, people are standing there in front of a computer, and the order would come in onto the floor. You had a bunch of specialists there on the floor. A specialist would pick up the phone, hear what the order was, 100 shares at 25 in GE. So he'd turn around and shout to the floor, 100 shares at 25 in GE, and then he'd enter it into the computer so it goes wide. So obviously all the people who hear his shout around him on the floor get to hear about that trade before he gets it into the computer. That's kind of the same thing that's happening here with these flash orders. But people are talking about banning this, so we may not see it anymore. But it clearly is a formidable weapon in the arsenal, because if you are a high-frequency trader, then you can transact very, very quickly on this and make money in other parts of the market. So why does a high-frequency trader get involved in high-frequency trading? It sounds like a very, very expensive business, and also politically a little bit unsafe these days. Very expensive because the computers are expensive. You know, the people that create these programs are extremely expensive. The real estate down beside the exchanges is obviously very expensive. So it's not a cheap business. But there's a reason for doing it, and it's called the liquidity rebate. Okay? The liquidity rebate. And what this is a little fee that gets paid to you as a trader if you take part in the exchange. Okay? So if you are one of these guys that's buying and selling in the exchange, every share, okay, that you put an order in, whether it's a buy order or a share order, every single share you get paid around 1/4 of a cent, a fraction of a cent. So there's a real advantage there if you are doing high volume, okay, and involved in large blocks of trades, because you're going to get paid for every single share that you trade. So even if you make a loss on the individual trades, you can actually make money from the rebates from the exchanges. There's huge amounts of money to be made here. So it means that a lot of these high-frequency traders are getting involved solely for that reason. Or that's certainly one of the charges. Now, of course, if you're getting people involved in an exchange purely to trade, as opposed to actually take a position or act as a broker, but you're just doing it to trade for the liquidity rebate, then people will say, well, that's not right. That means that people, they're just getting involved in this for the one reason, and it could really skew the market. Of course, the traders would say, well, we're providing liquidity, and we're providing a real service. We're on either side of a trade, so if you're a member of the exchange, you're almost guaranteed a market, or in fact, you are guaranteed a market. That would be their argument. But there's a lot of controversy about this. A lot of people say, well, if you are an individual investor, and you're trying to get involved in this exchange, and you've got this guy up the other side, okay, you are at a distinct disadvantage. I mean, think about me. If I'm there with my little PC, and I'm trying to sell my 1,000 shares of GE, or buy 1,000 shares of GE, how can I hope to stack up against this guy with all of the computer programs and the speed and all the rest of it that he has? If I'm trying to get a fair price for my GE shares, or if I'm trying to get GE shares at a decent price, I'm at a considerable disadvantage. And by the time I'm done, by the time I've actually laid my money down on the table, it could leave me very badly needing a drink.